I'm Mike.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Stuff and Waffle. Two friends talking about stuff, and often as not, waffling with frequent reference to Bond cars.
Right, here's a fun one. I was having to think the other day what poster cars you had as a kid.
Oh, good subject.
What was on your wall and what age were you at the time?
Well, that's a toughie. I do remember at one point there was certainly a General Lee hanging somewhere with the corresponding Plymouth Fury police car, of course.
Obviously.
Chasing along behind. I also remember a collage involving a Triumph Stag, but I'm not quite sure.
That's not your standard bedroom wall fodder.
I'm not sure where that came from. No. What would... And of course, later on, there was an unhealthy number of DeLorean pictures. Well, let's be honest, there still is. I'm just not allowed them in the bedroom anymore now. They're in the office. But I'm looking at a massive 6 foot wide one just above my desk now.
Very good.
Yes, the DeLorean did feature very, very heavily. But what would have? I honestly can't remember that I had any big car posters. But my father, being a motoring journalist for a while, used to bring home a huge amount of manufacturers' brochures and marketing materials. I mean, there would have been some posters in amongst all of that lot. I do distinctly remember pictures and proper press pictures as well, the glossy printed, proper press release
photographs,
pictures.
Really,
yeah, proper manufacturers' photographs. There was a lot of those on my wall, actually, more of those than posters. I think that's but it wasn't always exotic stuff. I remember there being a lot of Sierras.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, a lot of Sierras. Yeah, because he used to do a lot of Ford stuff, because obviously locally there's a big Ford dealer. So he used to do a lot of Ford stuff, but there was other stuff as well, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I remember there being a large amount of those glossy press photos more than posters. But
that's okay. That's allowed.
In terms of overall, the car that featured probably more than anything else would have been the DeLorean. Yeah,
it's a good choice, and I'm assuming we've got Doc Brown to thank for that.
No.
You were there before that.
When I first saw Back to the Future, and I've heard other people say this, in fact, even I think Matt Farrar of the Smoking Tire has said this, that when he first saw Back to the Future, he didn't realize it was a real car. I didn't know the DeLorean was a real car. I thought it was something they made up for the film. And I'm not alone in thinking that. I've heard other people say that. You know, as I say, even Matt Farrar said that. He didn't know when he first saw the film that it was a real car.
Yeah, we're not all seeing them out on the road at that point, were we?
Oh, well, quite. And yes, I never have and never will. But no, I didn't get into the time machine until much later on.
Okay.
I discovered that it was a real car, and and I'm still, although I love the time machine, I'm not a massive fan of Back to the Future as a film. But I think the car is genius. But I don't watch the film very often. It's not by any means one of my favorite movies. So
you're saying not even top 10 material?
No, I don't think I would. I prefer the third of the three films. The third one is my favorite. I love the car. I think what they did to it. I love the car, but I'm not a massive fan of the films themselves. The third one, as I say, is my favorite. But no, I never had a Back to the Future poster or anything like that. I discovered the car. I discovered the car later on and was far more interested in the car and the story behind it.
But it's quite fascinating, really, isn't it?
Than its use in the film. It is it is a fascinating story, and it's one that keeps getting retold over and over again. I mean, there was a new BBC documentary about it a couple of weeks ago. People still do seem very interested in just what went on there.
Yeah,
what happened there then? It's a popular topic.
It's quite a captivating one, and like you say, they'll keep retelling it. Car lovers of generations to come will still know all about it.
Yeah, I think so. It's a subject that people, and of course, a lot of the people involved in it are still around and still telling their story. It wasn't that long ago.
No, not really. No.
And I know I'm not anymore. I was a member of the Owners Club for a while, and I still have a lot of people that I talk to on social media who are owners. And there's 2 or 3 floating around on Facebook who worked at the factory.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very interesting people. But
the
story of was he a genius? Was he a criminal? Was he just unlucky? What really went on there? What was wrong with the car?
No, I don't know. I think all of those words you used to describe him, I think probably a bit of all of that.
A bit of all of them. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of mistakes made, shall we say, in many places.
But not all on his part, particularly the FBI moment. You think, well, that was not good, was it?
No, that was not good. And, he was acquitted. The judge didn't believe any of it. At the end of the day, the company collapsed because the boss was caught doing something he shouldn't have been doing. And I think he was doing it out of sheer desperation to try and save his company. And that's,
that was it.
I can appreciate that. As that, I think one of the taglines on the trailer for the film that came out last year about it, not Driven, the latest one, but there was a movie last year. I forget what it was called, and they said, how far would you go to save your dream? And I think that was the end of it. He was just desperate to try and save his car and save his company.
It has to be admired for that.
Yeah, I think so. But if we're talking ultimate poster car, for me, I think it would be the DeLorean.
Well, it does everything in the visuals, doesn't it? So there you go.
Exactly. It is far better as a photograph than it is as a car. I don't think anybody would argue with that.
No, this is true. No, it is the perfect poster car, really, isn't it?
It is, as so many of them are. I mean, Lamborghini Countach is the classic poster car. It's not actually a particularly brilliant car.
No, this is true.
I think even people who own them and are very enthusiastic about them would say, well, yeah, it's not perfect. Not by a long way.
You're not going shopping in it.
No, no. James May did try once, didn't he, with Harry's? Was that in his Cars of the People series? I think it might have been.
Entirely possible.
He took Harry's Lambo for a drive into this tiny little town, and it was a nightmare.
Oh, braver man than me. The last thing I want to do is take someone else's exotic car that's
someone else's
pain in the arse to manoeuvre.
Someone else's exotic car that's worth several £100,000. Yes. But again, that's the classic poster car. But it's not actually a very good car. But that's not what makes a good poster car, is it? So
no, it's meant to captivate a small person's brain.
Absolutely.
That's all it needs to do.
So what was yours then? Don't tell me it's a Volvo Estate.
No. Although
I'd be impressed if it was, to be fair.
In fairness, at one point there was the 850R touring car on the wall.
Oh, yeah, well, fair dues.
So technically there was a Volvo Estate on the wall
at one point. Very good.
But in terms of poster cars, I had a few before I sort of locked in and went, yep, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an F40 for a while up there. Then Diablo.
Okay, another classic choice. Yeah.
Diablo. Then also a 959.
Oh,
very good.
Yes,
very
okay.
good.
Bill Gates had one of those.
He did, and he imported it to America and wasn't allowed to drive it.
Oh, is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think the story behind it was that Porsche didn't make a huge amount of them and wouldn't submit them to US crash tests, and they went, no, sod that. So he imported it and could only drive it on private land, I think. I might be wrong, but it does sound familiar. Yes, he probably owns an awful lot of land.
He could afford to buy quite a lot of land on which to drive it. So, yes. He's a bit of a Porsche man, isn't he? His old Billy Microsoft, because he's had several over the years.
He's chosen well.
He has. There was a bit of a bust up between him and Elon Musk recently, because I think Gates said he didn't want to buy a Tesla or something, and Elon had to go at him on Twitter.
Oh dear.
As Elon tends to do.
Yeah. It shouldn't be allowed near Twitter, really, but it provides entertainment.
Well, he does indeed. Yeah, absolutely. He's done well on there. I think I read recently that Gates has bought a Porsche Taycan. He wanted an electric car, but he said he didn't want it to be a Tesla, which obviously limits the field a little bit for the sort of car that he's going to be looking for. So he's gone with a Taycan instead because he's a Porsche man. So
why not? Indeed, he can certainly afford it. So
I think so. Yeah, I don't think the cost is going to be too much of an issue. No.
He's probably good for it.
Yeah, I reckon.
But the one that superseded all of these, and I still give a left bollock for one.
That's prices are really rocketing for some of these exotics, aren't they?
Would be the Jaguar XJ220.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's flawed, I know, but I
again,
want one.
Yeah. It's another car that's far from perfect and not what it was supposed to be. But yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Just amazing. It took me quite a few years from seeing all the magazine hype about it and getting so excited about it. It took me years to actually see one in the flesh. I got so excited when
there's one at Haynes.
I've been to Haynes 2 or 3 times. Never there when I'm there.
It's been there every time I've been like 3 or 4 times. It's always been there. I assumed it never left.
No, the last time I was there, they said, "Oh no, it is here, but it's in the garage. It's engine out time." Like, right, okay, I won't see again. The one at Bewley, never seen that. Never been there when I've been there.
Oh, disappointing. I've never seen one moving, but I've seen the one at Haynes, numerous times. I
saw one at the NEC when I was, like I said, it must have been a good few years after they were actually released, because was it 88, 89 that the concept was at the motor show?
Yeah.
And then it was about 91, 92 when they actually came out.
It was a long time, wasn't it? It had a long development time, and then there were a number of key statistics that they didn't manage to achieve.
Well, that's it. No V12, no 4-wheel drive.
No speed living up to its name. It wouldn't do 220 miles an hour, would it? So,
well, what did they get? They got Martin Brundle to do it, didn't they, at the Nardo test track in Italy, and they took the catalytic converters off and got it up to 217, I think.
But not exactly a stock production car.
No.
Up to that speed. Not the one that people could actually buy. No.
Yeah, that's correct. No, but
that's classic Jaguar, though, isn't it?
Close enough. Only 3 off. No one will ever know.
Nearly got it there. But they had the same debate with the E-Type, didn't they? The original E-Type. The production, the figures that they released for it were nowhere near what it would actually achieve when it was delivered to customers. And there was some argument that they used a race engine, or they did things to it that got it up to some silly speed, and they ran it up the M1 at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday or something, because that was the only place they could do it, and achieved the speeds and things. But no production car, no production version of it could get anywhere near that.
I read that as well. Yeah, It's a bit like that.
But Aston Martin did the same thing with the DB5. That couldn't get anywhere near the specifications that they claimed either. So
they're all guilty of it then. Who's going to check?
Yeah, exactly. We were talking, as we often do recently, about the various Aston Martin DB5s that Mr. Bond has driven over the years. And we commented that the one in GoldenEye wore slightly different number plate.
Yes, it did, yeah. And we had a little chat about that.
We did. Very pleasant it was too. BMT 214A, as opposed to BMT 216A on the original. Well,
with built-in champagne cooler, as I recall.
With built-in champagne cooler, but no other discernible gadgets.
No.
But it did manage to keep up with the Ferrari, which was not at all contrived.
Oh, hang on. You say no discernible gadgets, but it did have a CD player that would do a little printout for him.
Oh, I stand corrected. You're quite right. Yes, Moneypenny could send him a fax. Yes, you're quite right.
Trust you'll stay on the top of things.
Oh, my word. Oh, you had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Sorry. Couldn't be helped.
Anyway, moving on. With reference specifically to the number plate of that car, BMT 214A, I noticed something the other day whilst doing a little unrelated research on the BMW 7 Series. And the BMW, well, what was badged as a BMW 750 IL in Tomorrow Never Dies, the next film, although I believe there is some question over whether it really was a 750.
Oh, some people say it was a 740, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know.
735. It was one of the V8s, because there were quite a few V8 engines in that particular one.
Yes, indeed. I don't know. It's certainly badged and billed as a 750 IL.
Right, as the Q leads into your 750.
Yes, indeed. I mean, there was horrific product placement going on there. And the stern German voice telling him what to do all the time, and the driving it from the phone and all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
all that good stuff. However, there was a little detail about that car which I only recently noticed. I may have noticed it at the time, but I don't recall.
Is it the plate again, but just ever so slightly different?
It is the plate. It's on German plates, but it's BMT 2144.
That's it. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Only noticed that recently, and that's a lovely little detail, because the DB5 is briefly in that film in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yes, right at the beginning, because he starts off at Oxford, doesn't he, with his brushing up on Little Danish.
That's indeed being a cunning linguist. Yes, that's right.
Oh, because it sounds like another word.
Oh, it's rude. It's rude, I tell you. And the DB5's parked outside, and then you see it briefly when he's driving to MI6.
Mm-hmm.
So it is there. But yes, the registration plate of the Beamer is BMT 2144. A nice little touch, I thought.
Yes, definitely, because it very much singles out Brosnan, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I was thinking about that car because it gets knocked a lot. I don't mean in the story. Obviously, it gets smashed to
thoroughly twatted.
Yes, that. But it's not very Bond, and they've put Bond in a sales rep saloon, and all that kind of stuff. But he was undercover as a German businessman, so it kind of fits.
Yes, he was a banker, wasn't he?
He was a banker, indeed, a German banker. So if you look at it in the context of the story, actually, the BMW 7 Series was perfect.
And you couldn't argue that was the rep one, the top of the range, V12 long wheelbase.
No. That was the chief executive's car. It certainly wasn't the sales rep's car. That would have been a 3 or a 5 Series. So, no, absolutely. I think it was fine. The other BMs that he uses are perhaps a little bit more questionable.
The Z3 can do one, if I'm honest.
The Z3 can do one. Yeah, I mean,
the Z8 I've got a bit of time for because that wasn't mass market really.
It wasn't mass market. I mean, nothing really happens to it other than it gets sawn in half. He doesn't do anything with it, does he?
No, it's fairly uneventful.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the best thing about that scene is Robbie Coltrane's Silver Shadow ending up in the sea. Deeply unfortunate
character.
Excellent character. Yes, absolutely. Superb.
And when you look back, there's that little bit in there where the Stand By Your Man rendition in the lovely Russian accents, but when you look at it and go, that's Minnie Driver. What is she doing there?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that wonderful line where Bond holds his gun up to his head and he says, Waffle PPK, only 3 men I know use such a gun. I believe I have killed 2 of them.
Oh, yeah, lucky me.
Lucky me, that's right. I think not. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful movie. And yeah, but it was a shame in some ways that the Brosnan era went BMW. Not to say that they weren't good cars, but I don't think they were quite right.
But it's interesting when we look back on them. I would argue that the 7 Series was the strongest of the 3.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it played a stronger part in the story. It's the only car of those 3 I would be interested in owning.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The desire for out of the 3 cars is for that one. I couldn't really give a toss about the other 2.
No, I agree entirely. I would reasonably happily have a 7 Series of that era, and again, they're quite cool, I thought, and it played, and it was a nice scene. There are some quite good cars actually in the multi-story car park. If you watch that sequence, there's some quite interesting stuff.
There's a lovely one that you can trace back to GoldenEye in there as well.
Oh, do tell.
In the multi-story car park, there is a Renault Fuego that gets utterly ruined.
Well, most things in there get utterly ruined.
Yes, but that one in particular, you can see that on the streets of St. Petersburg during the tank scene in GoldenEye.
Was it from the stock of stunt cars?
Yeah, it's exactly the same car.
Right, because there was a Fuego in A View to a Kill.
Oh, Jenny Flex
Flex drives a red one.
Red one, yeah. No, the one from GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies was a silver one.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I like that. Yes, that's very pervy. I like that. There's also a Volvo 240 Estate, which gets mullered. And there's a Ford Scorpio, but before it became the Scorpio, when it was still the Granada Scorpio.
Oh, yes.
The roundy, right. Sierra-y looking one.
Yes, you are correct. I know exactly the one you mean.
Yes, there's one of those in there too. And I believe one of the cars that gets its windscreen shattered when the BMW cuts through the steel cable to get through, when the BMW badge rises up at the front and it's got little spinny cutters, is a Bread Van Polo.
Oh, very good spot. What else was in there that leaps to mind was the original, the Mark 1 Seat Ibiza.
Oh, okay. I don't recall that. That's good.
I think that's parked next to the Volvo, because that is in the bit where the guy lines up with the rocket launcher. I think you can see it over his shoulder, as I recall.
Could be right. Yeah, you could be right. It's a good mix of cars in there.
Yeah, there are some lovely treats in there.
Yeah, there are. You have a poke around in there. That's good stuff. That's a nice sequence, actually. I thought it worked well. I thought the music was good.
It's interesting you comment on the music. Because
Propellerheads, I believe.
Yes, I think you're right on that sense. But in terms of a movie overall, was that the first time that David Arnold took the reins for the music?
Yes, it was. Yes.
So that's where it really came into his own. He does a fantastic job.
He does. He was a huge fan of John Barry's, and he'd spent the last 2 years producing his own Bond-inspired album, Shaken and Stirred. I don't know if you've
That was it. Yeah. I've got that.
Yeah, I bought that at the time, and it's a brilliant album. And that, I think somebody sent a copy. He didn't, but somebody sent a copy to Barbara Broccoli, and she thought it was spot on. They said, let's get this guy in because this is really good. Very true to what John Barry had started, but with a real modern twist to it.
Yes,
I thought that worked really well, and he was such a huge Bond fan as well, which helped.
Yeah, and
he was so happy to be working on the Bond films.
It just shows. I mean, all the music about that film was really good. I mean,
it was a shame they didn't let him use his title song.
Oh yes, because that was what was it called? Surrender.
With K.D. Lang.
Yeah.
It appears across the film's end credits.
Yeah, and it's obviously on the album, but it was obviously Sheryl Crow that did the.
Yeah, but the Sheryl Crow track doesn't fit with the rest of the score, whereas Surrender does, because it was written to be the title song, and apparently they thought, well, K.D. Lang's not as commercially successful, we better go with someone who's going to sell singles, and they chose Sheryl Crow. And Sheryl Crow apparently didn't want to do anything particularly Bondy because she didn't want her fans to think she was changing her direction, which I thought was a slightly arrogant attitude to take to it. I mean, you're doing a Bond theme. It's,
But especially when you listen to it, because it doesn't sound like a Sheryl Crow song. It does sound like a Bond song.
I know. That's the thing, isn't it? It doesn't...
I don't mind it as a song. It's absolutely fine.
It is. It's not my favourite.
No.
But I think the K.D. Lang track fitted better. It was more classically Bond. You could almost hear Shirley Bassey singing it.
Yes.
So that was a bit of a shame, but
I always rated that song.
It's really good. It is really good, and at least it's there. But
that's it. It didn't get omitted completely. I mean, and then for the following film, I thought that was an incredibly strong song. The garbage one.
Yeah, one of the best. One of the best. Have you seen the music video for that? That's tremendous.
Yes, very good.
Really strong. It's a strong film, actually. All of it. It works really well. We've got Robbie Coltrane back.
Even Goldie works in that.
Even Goldie, yes. It does work. It's a strong cast. It's a proper story. Lots of Judi Dench. You can't go wrong there. Actually, the cars in that film are quite forgettable. It's not a big car Bond film, is it? He's got the Beamer, and there's some Land Rovers, and that's about it.
Yes,
there isn't much car action in that one, actually.
No, but I mean, you just don't notice, do you? It's that good.
You don't. No, it doesn't matter. No, not at all. Not
I remember
the good one.
Just knocking down the cinema door to get in to see that, because it was around that sort of era. The internet was coming into its own, and there'd been so much hype and so much
1999,
and that the title sequence, the pre-credit sequence. I don't know if it's still the longest one, because it was at the time. I don't know if it's been superseded now. But I don't.
Good question. I think. Well, of course, the first 3 Daniel Craig films didn't have a pre-title sequence because they didn't. Well, they did, but they didn't start with a gun barrel. So they did have pre-title sequences. So some of those are quite long. It was the longest at that point. Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know if it still is.
I still question whether it might be the longest now, because it was just so good.
Yeah, it was good. In fact, there are a couple of car treats in that opening sequence when he's in his Q boat, and he comes up out of the water and crashes down on the road and slides through the market.
That's it, yes.
First of all, we have 2 guys putting a wheel clamp on a Ford Escort Mark V, I think.
Yes, it's 5 or 6, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the very late one. It was the end of the Escort by that point because the Focus came out in 2000. So end of the no, it didn't. The Escort. Oh no, it didn't. Focus was 97, but they kept making the Escort for a little while because they were very nervous.
Yeah.
I'm just going to check that because we'd hate to we'd hate to be wrong. 98. I was very close.
Oh, that's okay. But
you have to let me have that.
Absolutely fine.
To let me have that. Yes, indeed. But they kept making a few run-out editions of the Escort even after they'd launched the Focus because the Focus was so different and so radical at the time. They weren't entirely sure. So they wanted to just keep the Escort around just in case.
Hedge their bets a little, yep.
And I had one of those last Escorts.
Did indeed.
I did indeed. One of the final models. But so there was an Escort and one of the police. Well, there's 2 police cars that chase him through the market. How they got there that quickly, I don't know. But one of them is a Vauxhall Omega.
Yes, that is correct. Yep, I remember.
And the other one's a Rover 800.
I'm holding the partridge.
Both full jam sandwich with the lights and all the decals and everything. But I have driven an Omega for quite some distance because the company I worked for in those days, in the 90s, had Omegas as company cars. And I had to drive one to London and back. So I've spent some time behind the wheel of an Omega.
Okay. Any good?
It was very Vauxhall in that it felt quite solid. Tons of cheap black plastic, but yeah, it felt quite solid and quite sort of, almost rugged. I quite liked it, actually. I'm not a huge Vauxhall fan. I never have been, but I quite liked that car. And again, it's another one that's become quite, if I could talk, if it could become quite cool and collectible these days.
Yeah, that's it. It really has. You have those, the Senator and the Carlton. They're very.
Oh, yeah.
We're all wistfully thinking about those.
So I've spent some time in an Omega, and I didn't dislike it. I thought it was quite good. It was a saloon, not the estate, but it was quite solid. I thought nicer than the Vectra that followed it.
Ugh.
And I've driven a few Vectras as well, because again, a later company I worked for had Vectras as company cars, and they were less nice.
Yeah, unamused.
Unamused. I think most people were unamused by the Vectra. Yes, indeed. I recall Mr. Clarkson's famous review of the Vectra VXR, the really hyper nutter turbo powerful one, but it was still front wheel drive.
Oh God, yes, all of the torque steer, wasn't it?
And one of his classic lines when he was out on the track with it, and he was talking about the catastrophic understeer, and he got it on full lock, and it was still proceeding in a straight line. And he said, and this steering wheel operates in an advisory capacity.
Yep, spot on, really.
Spot on. Yes, it was just so much power going through the front wheels that it just couldn't handle it. But yes, the Vectra was not a sterling piece, as they say. But no, I didn't mind the Omega. But yes, one of the police cars that is in pursuit of Bond is an Omega.
Yes, I do remember it. Now you say, yes. And you think, yeah, that even sort of trying to think back in my head, I'm going to go out on a limb and still say that is longer sequence than any of the Daniel Craig stuff.
You might be right. Shall I do some quick research?
Yes, please do. I mean,
yes.
And you got to think as well. It wasn't hugely dialogue heavy either.
No, not at all.
It was
not at all.
It was quite action packed. I mean, obviously you've got the start at MI6. Then it's just carnage unfolds. You get right to the climax of it, and I can protect you, and not from
It is. Don't blow us up. Yeah, it is a wonderful pre-title sequence, and we even got a little bit of M's office in it, which is unheard of for a pre-title. Although there is a brief shot of M's office in the pre-title sequence of. No, there is. There's a brief shot, yes, right at the beginning of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but not in the TV version. It was always cut on TV. I've no idea why, but on the full version of it, it starts in M's office.
That's right. That is spot on.
Yes,
just like you say, I've noticed that on the odd occasion where it's cropped up on TV. I think, well, of all the things to cut, why have you done that?
Yeah, On Her Majesty's Secret Service is always really badly cut on television.
I suppose it comes down to length because it was quite a long film.
It's a long film. Yeah, absolutely. You are indeed correct. The World Is Not Enough does have the longest pre-title sequence at 14 minutes and 5 seconds.
Oh, and it's a very rewarding sequence as well.
But it is rumoured that No Time to Die has a longer one. We, of course, don't know.
Better be good.
Better be good. They've steadily got longer. I mean, if you look at the list, actually, the films are more or less in chronological order. There's a few aberrations. But Die Another Day is the next longest.
Yeah, I suppose that is quite a long one. The trouble is, I don't rewatch it often enough for it to be.
No, it's not one of my favourites, but that's the one, of course, that starts in North Korea. It's quite a good pre-title sequence, actually. Die Another Day. It's sort of better than the rest of the film, dare I say?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. I think, actually, when I look back, it's probably the film I've been to the cinema to see the most.
Yeah, that's probably true for me as well. Although I think I did see Skyfall about 4 times with different people.
Yeah,
because they're different groups of friends that were going. Is oh yeah, I'll come.
Skyfall was what that did so much for Bond films in general.
It was glorious. It's actually, I would say, it's probably my favourite after On Her Majesty's.
It works tremendous. So well.
It's tremendous. It works on every level. It really does. Good car action in Skyfall too.
Yeah, this is true.
Very good car action. We've
provided by Jaguar Land Rover.
Yes, lots of that. Yes, I know all the police are driving Discoveries, and yes, it's
it's fine. It's fine.
Absolutely no problem. And M's Jaguar XJL features quite heavily.
It does, but I have
Don't you recognise the car? Just get out of the way.
I have to say, in terms of a choice of vehicle, I do like to hark back to Tomorrow Never Dies with the Daimler, the
Daimler limousine. Yes, that was heavy duty.
Yes, that was tremendous. They're being flung about in that thing.
It was ridiculous, wasn't it? It's not exactly stealthy either for the head of Secret Service. But here's one. Do you know which film Bond travels in one of those again?
Oh,
God,
right. I'm delving into the brain cells.
Got you there.
Oh God, right. Come on, brain. Don't let me down.
I'll give you a minute. Talk amongst yourself, listener.
Oh, good heavens! No, come on, listeners, work with me here. Yell the answer at me.
Send in the vibes. Yes. The Living Daylights. No.
Was it not?
It was not. There was one.
Oh, there was. Hang on, there was.
But Bond wasn't in it.
Oh, bollocks. What was it?
The Ministry of Defence arrives in one at the Bladen Safe House in The Living Daylights, but Bond never travels in it because Bond's got his Aston there.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes, because he turns up, but it hasn't been winterized yet.
Exactly. So we're just winterizing this. Yes, that's right. So Bond turns up in the convertible V8 Volante, and there is a Daimler that, yes, turns up with the Ministry of Defence in it. And I believe you see it. Actually, I don't think you see it arriving. You see it leaving.
Hang on.
But Bond never goes in it. There's another sequence in which Bond travels in one.
Good heavens! Right, come on. I thought I'd peaked there.
You're right. It's there, but
it's
Bond.
there.
Yeah.
No. All right. I'm going to have another stab.
Okay.
I am going to say, and this probably gets shot down again. Go, no, stop getting Bond wrong. Casino Royale.
Correct.
It transports them, as I recall, from the train station to the hotel.
Correct. That is correct.
Oh God, redeemed myself.
Yes. Bond and Vesper travel in it. Yes. And they're going through their cover story whilst in it. Yes, that's right.
That, yes.
Well done. That film is heavily Jaguar Land Rover. Heavily.
All over the place.
You cannot count the number of XJs that are in. They are everywhere.
There's more in that than there are on the road.
I know. They were all there. Every sequence. XJs, Range Rovers, S-types. It's just everywhere. That car park at the hotel in Nassau.
Yes.
Every single space. XJ, Range Rover Sport, S-type, X-type, another Range Rover, full-size Range Rover. It's every space.
Honestly.
They were not holding back. Every model the company made was there.
You can forgive them for that because, I mean, you could almost, like you say, you could trace back the reboot to that film.
Oh, absolutely. That's where it started. Yeah, absolutely.
And so good. I remember going to the cinema to see that, going, I really don't know what to expect.
No, and I was absolutely blown away. Absolutely blown away. I thought this is, best Bond film ever made.
Yeah. And well, that's it. It blew everyone's socks off.
Yeah. And there'd been so much negative press about Daniel Craig, so much, so many stupid remarks from the press.
Yeah, he's not got the right colour hair.
Well
done, dickhead. Thank you for that.
But yes, very constructive. But a lot of people in the industry thought it was a mistake. I mean, even Sam Mendes, who of course went on to direct a number of Bonds, has said that at the time he thought it was a colossal mistake. He thought, I don't think he's Bond, and I think it's wrong for his career. I mean, that just shows you the level of misunderstanding of what Barbara Broccoli was trying to do with it. And, for all the missteps that have happened in Bond over the decades, that was not one of them. That was inspired casting.
Yes, it really was. It was the casting was excellent. The nods to the past, the sort of reintroduction of Felix. It was all very, very well done.
Because they'd never been able to film Casino Royale. They'd never been able to get the rights to it. And it was the one story that Cubby always wanted to do. And they could never get it. And after decades of battling in court to get the rights to it, they were finally awarded it. And I think Barbara just thought, well, if there's any film that we can't afford to mess up, it's this one. We so need to get this right. And I think they did. They assembled a fantastic team. Martin Campbell directing, who previously directed GoldenEye. And it was spot on.
It really was.
There wasn't a weak part in it.
No, there wasn't. There's one bit that grates me slightly.
Not the destruction of the Aston DBS.
No, not even that bit.
Okay. We should talk about that.
It's the bit that I think we may have mentioned it before, or we've mentioned it in an entirely non-podcast scenario, and it's the wrong card game. Yeah.
We have touched on that. I don't know if we were recording, but it is Texas Hold'em poker.
No, it should be. It should be Chemin de Fer.
It should. It was in the book.
And it should be if we look back through all the times we see Bond in a casino.
Yeah, it should. I mean, sometimes the game is a bit nondescript. You don't quite know what he's playing. But
actually, there is one point where Bond is in the casino in License to Kill. He's playing blackjack there.
Very good. Very good. And it's Chemin de Fer in Dr. No.
Dr. No, Chemin de Fer in Thunderball.
And
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah.
It is, with the late Mrs. Brosnan. Yeah, no, it is the wrong game. I don't know why they chose that. Maybe, I don't know, make it more accessible to the American market. I don't know. Or maybe to tie up with some merchandising. Who knows?
Maybe. I'd certainly buy the Casino Royale themed pack of cards.
I did.
You know there would have been. You've got it, haven't you?
I have. I did. Did
it? Oh my God! Have you got the poker chips?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'm weak.
No, it's fine as long as it's presented beautifully.
I don't know where they are actually. Oh, they're on the shelf over there.
Have you ever used them?
Yes.
Excellent. That's all right.
We had a poker night not long after the film came out, and it turns out I'm no good, so I need more practice.
See, I quite like Texas Hold'em as a game because it's quite fast paced.
Yes, which again is wrong for the film because it's edited that it's really slow, and it takes ages to get through it. So I mean, they're at it for hours, aren't they? So
that's it. I mean, if it was going to be poker, it should be traditional 5-card poker.
Yeah, I don't know why that was chosen.
Well, if we have an opportunity for a conversation, we'll ask them.
We'll yeah. When we get Barbara on, I mean, it's only going to be a matter of weeks.
Yeah,
surely.
obviously.
Because she loves to talk about crap old cars. But the destruction of the DBS.
Yes. Are you talking about its reluctance to flip over?
I am. Yes, I am indeed. Well, yes. I was going to compare it to the sequence in the book, which is absolutely magnificent. I mean, in the book, it's a Bentley. Bond always drives but he drives a Bentley in a number of the books. If you read the chapter in the book, I mean, you can see what a good writer Fleming was, and actually what a petrolhead he was. The description of the car rolling over in the book is just tremendous. Where he describes what does he say? It's when it rears up and it's Lucas headlights search the sky, and things like that. It's just, and
it's wasted on some.
It hits the tarmac with a splintering of glass and coachwork and things like that. It's just wonderful descriptive writing. It was, you really actually, I don't think it was in that book. I think that particular sequence was in Moonraker in the book. But the point stands that it's his description of a car crash was absolutely incredible. But yes, the fact that when testing that sequence, I believe they were using BMW 3 Series, and they would flip at the drop of a hat, and then they got the Aston and they couldn't make it roll, no matter what they did to it, no matter how steep a ramp they drove it into, no matter how fast they hit the ramp, it just would not flip over. It just landed back on his wheels again in a completely undramatic way.
Yeah, it's unglamorous for that particular moment.
So they had to, ironically, take the passenger seat out and fit it with an air cannon, which would fire a piston into the tarmac, thus flipping the car.
That's it.
And the stunt driver had the button so they could do it at precisely the right moment.
And in the process, they managed to set a world record, didn't they?
They did. They beat Top Gear, I believe, who had the previous record with a Ford Sierra Estate. I think they got 5 rolls and the Aston did 6. But if you look at that sequence, you can see the remains of the air cannon hanging out the bottom of the car as it rolls over.
Yeah.
You can see it flapping about.
It's very difficult to edit that in post.
Not a lot you can do with that, but it works nonetheless. But that was the only way they could get it to roll. And no matter how hard they hit the ramp, no matter how steep the angle, it wouldn't go over.
It's a good center of gravity in those Astons.
It's impressive. But the BMWs they were testing it with would flip at the drop of a hat, so it lulled them into a false sense of security. Oh, this is going to be easy. Well, I think that's probably enough of that for this week. Check us out on all the various social medias and things. Thank you very much for listening.